guys, welcome back to the garden. In the past several weeks, Dorothy and I have been planting plants and watering and doing a lot of work in this garden, and we'd like to show you what it looks like now. So I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors again. Thank you to Chatham Hardware for letting us use this area of land, and a thank you to the Harvest Hall at the Columbia County Fair for monetary support. I'd also like to give a shout out and thank you to Denal Collins for a donation of a sign. This is going to be up at the garden, so you can have our contact information if you drive by and want to take a look. So let's go look at the garden. One of the designs for this garden was to have vegetables that were both early growing and late growing. So you get things early in the season, and then later in the season you're harvesting too. And I would recommend that for your home gardens as well. Maybe you have a favorite plant or favorite vegetable, and that's great, you can focus on that. But just think of expanding your season from early to late. For instance, one of the things that we have in this garden that tends to be an early producer are pea plants. Those are on the far side over there, and they're still kind of small, but they're going to be putting out peas soon. Another thing that we have is bok choy, and that's just about ready to harvest now. We also have some kale, and that is also ready to harvest now. You can see that right here. While we're on the kale, as you have your garden, you do want to be checking for pesticides and problems that present themselves. And I noticed the other day when I was out here that these kale plants have white spots on them. And at first I said, well, maybe it's a parasite, and I took a good look at the leaf, which you can see here, and there's actually nothing to indicate that there's any bug that is causing this. But if you look closely, it looks like the leaves are being bleached. And I think what happened was when we were watering, probably the water was on that leaf and the really hot sun caused that white. So that's one of the things that you want to be looking out for, is a problem. If there is a bug that needs to be taken care of, that's something you want to get on sooner rather than later. If it's just an issue with a little bit of white bleaching, that's something that's not a huge deal. But you do want to be careful if you're watering. More ideal to water later or earlier in the day rather than in the harsh, bright sun. Another thing that we have planted is carrots. You can see those right here, and they're going to be growing for quite a while yet. They won't be harvested yet, but you can see the leaves are growing well at this point. At some point they had to be thinned out, so Dorothy went in here, and that just consists of giving those plants a little bit more room. So she pulled some of the ones in between, and that gives those plants more room to grow and a healthier carrot. Another later growing thing is potatoes, and you can see those here. These won't be ready for a while yet, and you're seeing that all the growth is in these plants here, but there's a lot going on in the ground too, and that's where those actual potatoes are maturing. So that's going to be a while before those are harvested. So you're seeing the earlier and the later produce. Another thing I want to show you is our Swiss chard. This is almost ready to be harvested as well. We have both the all green varieties and the green and red varieties, which you may be more familiar with. Both have excellent taste. So these tomato plants, they're growing well. It's going to be a little while before we have any fruit. And what you see here are stakes. So once tomatoes get to a certain height, they just can't support themselves and they'll fall over. And you can either use hoops or stakes. Neither is right nor wrong. I prefer the stakes. I think they're easier to manage. And what you do is you just put a stake in next to your plant. You just be careful not to disturb the roots when you put that in. And then you're going to use 2 pieces of twine or string, and you can tie those plants up. These plants have yet to be tied. And what you're going to do is basically do one lower down to support the vine near the bottom, and then as it grows up you just do one higher up. And if you need to do throughout the season more pieces just to keep them supported as they get heavier, you can do that too. And if you take a look here, you'll see that there's actually fruit on this one already. It's a very small green tomato. And your yellow flower here, that's where the fruit is starting from. The bean plants, this is the first planting of beans that we did. They're a little bit taller. We have a second planting. I have some more bean plants here. Fairly similar in size, but a little bit smaller than the other ones. And I also have some pepper plants that are here as well. It's going to be a little bit till these are producing too. I have 3 hills, or actually 4 hills here of different squash varieties. Some of these are yellow squash and some are zucchini. And then on the end here, I have cucumbers. So you may be wondering, okay, what's the hill thing about? There's not a right or wrong with this. You don't have to use a hill to plant your squash or cucumbers. I preferred to do that with some of mine. I actually did cucumbers that were not in hills as well. So there's both in this garden, but sometimes the hills can actually help with the vines. So as the plants mature, the vines are really just growing out, and sometimes when they're a little higher up, it gives them more room to stretch down. Over here, there's more potato plants. These were planted a little later on, and these are actually red potatoes versus the white potatoes that you saw that are taller. So these were planted from seed potatoes, and these will be harvested later on as well. Something else that I want to mention, you may have noticed here there's a lot of straw down. This is one of the things that we prefer to do for this garden because it is in the public eye. The straw kind of gives everything a better look and it keeps the moisture in. So if it's something that you're able to do, definitely go ahead and do that. Put some straw down. And the reason we use straw versus hay is that straw does not have that seed in it that's going to give you all those weeds, whereas hay does. So you're going to get the weeds a lot more with your hay. Hay is not a terrible choice if you don't have anything else to use, but it is preferred to use straw. And if it's not something that you can use, if you don't have access to either of those, don't feel like that's a terrible thing. That's okay too. You're just going to have to do maybe a little bit more watering and weeding as well. One of the other things that you can do when you're trying to get up close to the plants is you can take your straw and chop it up. You need like a pair of scissors for this, but you're going to chop that up into smaller pieces, and then you can get right up close to your plants, but not smother them, and build that barrier there so you're as close as possible. If you have any questions about these vegetables that I'm going over, you have specific things at home that you're struggling with, feel free to comment below or reach out to us again with the email or phone number provided, and we'll be happy to go over the specifics with you and help you the best that we can. This channel is for you guys, so I can't stress enough that if you have questions about something, please reach out to us and ask. If you have a specific vegetable problem, we'll make a video on that. Just let us know what it is and comment or contact us email or phone. The other thing I want to mention is we are doing some partnership with local organizations to give this food to help those in need. And right now we're working with TSL and Hudson, so we'll have a video update on that soon. We look forward to seeing you in the next video and hope to hear from you in the comments. Thanks very much for watching.